This is my next video talking about China and moving there and working. And in this video, I wanted to go over basically what happens when you first get there, because I think that's the most important thing you need to know. Is what happens those first few days arriving in China and what's it going to be like. So it really depends on first your company and what kind of who you're working for. Like for general sake, we're gonna say English teacher because I think that's what most people will be doing, and that's what I personally did. So the way I got my job, which I will kind of go into in another video, is that I was looking on Facebook, which is a great way to find English teaching jobs. Is just searching Facebook, like international TEFL jobs. There's tons of job postings all the time, and honestly, China has the most options as of where like getting a job. Like it's probably easiest. I'd say personally, I believe it is easiest to get a job, a TEFL job, if you have a college degree. China, like there's gonna be a job there for you. And so I had my degree because I had just graduated and I had gotten my TEFL certificate. So I did, I think 3 interviews, and I ended up going with a kindergarten school that offered a really good salary and a month off in the summer, obviously, of paid vacation time. So that was really great. I had time to travel and time off for winter holiday, which is Chinese New Year, which is why I'm off right now, and I'm off a little bit longer because of the virus going on, but hopefully we'll be able to get back soon. Aside from that, what happens when you first get there? So you get on your plane from your hometown, and you fly to China and you arrive in China. So there's a lot of things. My biggest thing I would say is that you should prepare yourself, prep, because when you get there, it's going to be a lot of stuff happening. And it's probably, like, again, as I talked about in my last video, it's going to be a lot of culture shock. So you're going to feel most comfortable if you have an idea as to what's going on. So the first thing I'd say is know where. Obviously, you need to know where you're going once you arrive there. For me, I had talked to my school beforehand, and they had said that they would provide a place for me to stay for a few days, a few weeks, until I found my own apartment in China. And most schools, from what I've heard, will do something like this. They will either set you up in one of their own apartment buildings they own. Like my apartment was, I stayed with a few other teachers, Chinese teachers at the school. It was like a school building. School owned that apartment building, as far as I understand. And I just stayed in an extra bedroom there for a few days. A lot of schools will put you in a hotel, I've heard. So that's really nice. Yeah, it's a good, you'll stay in a hotel, and yeah, that's what I hear generally people will do. So know where you're going, check with your company before you get there. Definitely don't just arrive in China and be like, okay, I'm gonna find myself a hotel now easily, because it might be a bit of a challenge, because in China, you're gonna have to use all the China apps to get around, to book things, to pay. So actually, a really, really important video I'm going to make after this is apps that you need for China. They live their lives on their phones. So you're definitely going to want to have all these apps downloaded before you go to China, because sometimes it's just difficult to get you're going to need to have a different app downloader also if you want to avoid a VPN. Which you probably will get a VPN, but on a different topic, you will want a different app downloader, a Chinese one, to download apps if your VPN goes down, or if you just don't want to use one, whatever the reason. Get an app loader that's not Google Play, because I had a huge problem with that because I had Google Play. So prepare yourself. So make sure you have all these apps that I'm going to talk about in my next video. I'll hopefully get to do that really soon, and that will make your life really easy. Also, I'll try to tell you how to use each of those apps so you know what you're doing going into China. It will just make it so much easier. And of course, you'll have people there to help you all along the way. So hopefully you'll have a general idea of how the apps work, and then you'll have someone to help you if you don't understand something. but applications are really so important. You use them for everything. As important they are here, they're even more important in China. So make sure you're prepared with that. And my advice would be do your research beforehand as far as the city you're going to. For example, I went to Hangzhou, but you could be going anywhere, and there's lots of really beautiful, great cities in China. So know where you're going, and if you can, know where the foreign expats hang out in those cities. So I'll tell you about Hangzhou because that's where I live. But it's gonna, when you first get there, you're gonna feel really probably isolated. You have these like the stages that you go through when you go to a different place and how you're gonna feel, and it's gonna be really intimidating at first, like really intimidating, especially if you're not really fluent in Chinese. Probably a lot easier if you know Chinese like fluently, but even if you just kind of have a little bit of Chinese, you're gonna be thinking in your head like, I need to learn Chinese. I need to get an apartment, because for me, I wanted to get my apartment right away. I wanted to settle in. I need to make friends because it's really lonely those first few days if you don't know anyone. So my recommendations would be have another app downloaded. So for me, I had Tinder, which I wasn't using to find dates, but they actually use a lot. You can find dates, of course, like even dates with Chinese people in China who speak English. So if that's what you're looking for, you can use that. But also there's a bunch of people on who are just interested in finding foreign English-speaking friends to practice English. Or other foreigners are on it in the area that you can meet other foreigners. So it's one good way to meet people in the area and get out of your hotel room, or if you have an apartment, get out and meet people, because it will help fight that I just moved, this is crazy depression that you might get just being in a completely different place. Like, you want to keep being social as much as you can because it will help you to settle in and feel more comfortable. Aside from apps like that you can use to meet people, there's also just like doing your research like I mentioned beforehand and knowing where the hotspots are, because there are more than likely going to be big hotspots of where the expats go, like the Western bars. And I'll try to make another video talking about Hangzhou itself, because that's my personal experience. I know where the people in Hangzhou, the expats, go to hang out, so I can give you advice on that. I feel like it's hard to find information like that outside of China. It's like you have to get there and then go to your school, talk to the other foreign teachers at your school, and be like, listen, where do foreigners go to hang out? Like, where are the hot spots, the bars that foreigners go to? And just trust their instinct. They'll know. At that point, they know where all the spots are people go. You can go there, and honestly, that's probably one of the best ways to meet people, because people are generally really friendly, and being in a community with so many Chinese people, Westerners really embrace the community that we set up there, and people are from, it's a small group usually, unless you're in Shanghai or Beijing, then it's like usually, that those are huge cities, huge international cities. But if you're in like a smaller or a second or third tier city, they're usually smaller communities, and they really we just get along, and everyone knows each other and gets, is very friendly and inviting. So it's a great way to make friends and to make you feel more comfortable in your beginning time there, because it can be definitely intimidating. And don't be afraid to actually go out and do things. So the food is different. It's a different culture. The signs are in Chinese. It's very intimidating at first to go out and get out of your little, either like I said, your little apartment building or your hotel room, because you're going out into the unknown, and the unknown is scary. But it will be worth it. And generally, like I said in the last video, have your translation app. So if you get in a situation where you need to talk to someone who speaks only Chinese, you have a way to communicate with them. But even then, you can get around. You'll be fine. But it will be helpful to be able to, at least if you get lost or anything like that, have something to help you get along. But finding food, you'll be walking around maybe. If you live in for me, I lived in kind of the big city was kind of across the river, and I live in Binjong, which is like maybe like a good like half an hour away from the big city. You have to get like a taxi and then go in a metro, and then once you get into the big area, there's a lot of Western places like chains that you would have, and there are chains like all over. Like of course, you see things like Starbucks are everywhere, like Starbucks and Burger King. I've seen McDonald's, but you probably don't want to eat just junk food, so it would be good to meet people. And I've been talking all about meeting foreign people because that's comforting. But honestly, my first experience going out in China was with my Chinese roommate because I was staying in that school apartment. And she's now my co-teacher in my classroom, so it worked out really great. And she's the sweetest person ever. So when I first got there, I was kind of like petrified, like, oh shit, what did I do? Like, oh my god, I don't understand. I want to go home. This is crazy. And her name was Nancy. She knocked on my door, and she's like, Katie, we're going to an outdoor flower show. Like, you should come along. Like, come with me and my Chinese friends. So I just was like, yeah, I should get out. I should go, like, get some food, because all I had been eating is the school gave me, like, a bag with a bunch of, like, different types of bread in it, because they're really into, like, bread as, like, almost like a dessert item. So it was, like, chocolate bread and bread with, like, raisins. And so I was just, like, hiding in my room, just, like, surviving on bread and, like, hot water from the kitchen. And Nancy's like, okay, yeah, you're, like, need to get out and stop being a hermit. And I was like, okay, yeah, like, I need to, just do it. And so I went out, and we went to that big city center in Hangzhou around Westlake, and we went and saw all these beautiful flowers, and it was a great time, and I made friends, and I started to feel like, this is okay, like, I can do this, like, it's doable. So it's important to get out and just start to experience it and not hide. Maybe that's just my experience. I think that other teachers I've talked to come to China, and they are explorers, and they just like pop out, and they're like, all right, I'm ready to go, let's do this. But I had never really experienced a different culture so much, so for me, I was much more timid. But if you're an explorer and you're just gonna go there and just go for it, good for you. But this is just my personal experience and my recommendations if you feel like it's a big change and you need advice. Okay, so that is just a general overview of my first few days in China and what you're going to expect. And I'm going to try to make a few other videos going more specific into different things, because there's so much you can talk about and so much advice to give. I feel like, unfortunately, China doesn't have a ton of information for English teachers before you arrive there. Like, there's a million videos for Korea, a million videos for all these other places. And there are some for China, but I feel like not as much as there could be, and the information might just be like overview information. So I want to go a little bit deeper so people are truly prepared when they get there and know what to do to arrive there and be confident and happy. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and keep an eye out for more that's coming. Leave a like and comment if you have any ideas or questions. Thank you. Bye-bye.